Happy Wednesday, RMPs. I am Chrissy Brooks here to teach you about monthly responsibilities, part 2 for our audits. First, though, I wanted to talk about the new updates to the decision trees. So if you have not yet, you need to order this great big long item number. As you can see, when you receive the deck, that will be a link that you can click on. We need to get one ordered for every single decision tree that you have in your building. And then you also need to order one extra one that's going to fill in your GURP book pages. So your blue book, I believe it's Appendix K. Sorry, I don't have that on hand. But you also need to update page 8 and page 10. They're just stickers. Mine came today. Stickers, you peel the back off of them and then simply just lay it right over top of that page 8 and page 10 in your decision trees. So what's the big change? Well, honestly, it wasn't a huge change, which I wasn't surprised about, but it does talk about hydrofluoric acid. Hydrofluoric acid can be found in lots of different products, rust removers, corrosive removers, wheel cleaners for vehicles. It can be embedded into products as a rust inhibitor. So it's in a lot more products than we think. So we need to make sure that we're checking the ingredient list, that there's not hydrofluoric acid in it if it's something that is some kind of rust inhibitor or something of that nature. Then we want to process our spill with hydrofluoric acid through the DMP as liquid present. So no matter how much you have, whether you've got a 12-ounce bottle or if you've got 3 gallons, we are not going to solidify as long as you can screw that lid back on, snap that lid back on. Whatever the situation is, you need to be able to close that container completely so that nothing else is going to leak out. Otherwise, we're going to solidify it and neutralize it at the same time with sodium bicarbonate. So as you can see on this decision tree, it says for containers that is spilled and cannot be closed, add sodium bicarbonate to neutralize, absorb, and solidify. And then we're going to run it through the DMP with sodium bicarbonate as our solidifier. So hydrofluoric acid, if you can keep it in its original container, do it. Process it as liquid present. If not, then you need to go ahead and put it, solidify it with sodium bicarbonate to turn it into its solid form, then continue processing it through the DMP as normal. So today we are going to talk about monthly audit part 2. I keep changing this slide, but it's all the same exact information. When, why, what's up with the monthly. So every facility has to complete the monthly audit, whether you're very small, whether you're small, whether you're large, whether you produce 1 bucket a month or 30 drums a quarter, whatever it is, you have to complete a monthly audit. All audits have to be completed in G-SHRMIS. If you are doing paper audits, please, please, please discontinue that practice. If you are printing it out and doing it on paper and then transferring it to G-SHRMIS, that's fine. It has to be input into G-SHRMIS. Our monthly audit is checking our daily and our weekly plus some other areas, and then figure out who is going to complete this audit. Who is going to complete it on the regular, and then we also have to have a person who knows how to do it for when this regular person is on vacation or is on leave or whatever the circumstances might be. There needs to be at least one other person, if not more, in your building that understand the complete monthly audits. So make sure that we have those people discovered. Monthly audit, you find her in G-SHRMIS right there, dashboards base, Great big green monthly button. You really can't miss it. So section C, we've talked about A and B last week. Today we're going to talk about C and D. So section C is about unconfirmed waste. So is your unconfirmed waste organized in spill trays or buckets? Your unconfirmed waste needs to be segregated or stored side by side, not the spill trays stacked. But if you have buckets, you can stack unknown buckets. This is an example of a storage facility that I was at. They've got confirmed on one shelf. They've got confirmed, let me move my little, they've got unconfirmed down here. And then as you can see, they've got a bag and tag right there on that pending bucket with the temporary ID label facing out. Next thing is going to be verify that we have no uncontaminated cardboard in our green bags. So that's going to be going to our storage area, opening up our buckets, opening up our barrels, and pulling out our green bags and looking. Is there any cardboard in this bag? No, all of the cardboard that's in here is wet. That one's good to go. Pick a handful of them to do that with. Pick, this site has 6, so pick 2. And then C3, have unconfirmed incidents been placed in unconfirmed storage area with the temporary ID label and the bag and tag pouch affixed. So again, that's looking at this one right here. We've got our temporary ID label. We've got our bag and tag. We are in the unconfirmed storage area. So far this facility gets a okay, okay, okay. More of section C. So question 4, are your DMP bags properly sealed? To be properly sealed, we need to do our twisty gooseneck, then we're going to do tape, then we're going to take and fold that over and bunch it up so that we've got both sides, and then we're going to tape all the way up to the top. There should be no plastic exposed on the top of that. You should have tape from the bottom all the way to the top and even covering the top of that gooseneck. And then make sure that you've got your temporary ID label on there. Make sure you tape it on there. I've seen many barrels where I go and open the barrel. Guess where all the temporary ID numbers are? Laying on the rest of the green bags. I have no idea which green bag goes with which temporary ID label. So we need to be taping that temporary ID label onto the gooseneck. C5, is there liquid in your DMP bag? There should not be free liquid in your DMP bags. This is one I ran into where it was just liquid and just a little tiny bit of absorbent. We're looking for a wet sand consistency when we're solidifying. So there really should be no free liquid just floating around. The exception is going to be if you've been instructed to do the wetting protocol, which I am going to do a call about wetting protocol once we get through these monthly audits, because it's coming up more and more often now. So no liquid in your bag unless you've done the wetting protocol. And then C6, verify that there's no RCRA clean containers inside of our green DMP bags. As we've talked about probably 100 zillion times, once the container is empty, we can throw it away. So you've got your bottle of cleaner that we're holding on to. We're dumping it into our green bag and solidifying. Container's empty. I'm going to chuck it in the trash can. Once it is empty, less than 1 inch of residue or less than 3% total volume, that container can be thrown away. The exception is acute hazardous waste. Nicotine, sodium azide, cyanide, and I can't think of what the other big 4 one is. So just make sure that it's no containers in your green bags. And if there is a container, it should be an acute hazardous waste. All right, I believe this is the last of section C. So C7, verify that there's a printed DMN available for every green DMP bag in your unconfirmed area. So that's just going through and making sure bag and tag, bag and tag, bag and tag, bag and tag, and they all have DMNs in them. Good to go. That one's an easy one to do. Number 8 is a little more difficult. So 8 is when you click that OK button, it's going to give you these 2 drop downs. These 2 drop downs are talking about picking out two pending damages that you have sitting there and pulling the green bag out of your bucket and weighing it. How much does it weigh? It should be accurate within 1/10 of a pound. So if your DMN says that this damage weighs 10.2 pounds, it better weigh between 10 and 10.4. We need to, or excuse me, between 10.1 and 10.3. We need to be accurate within the 1/10 of a pound. You can go 1/10 plus or minus. Otherwise, we need to be spot on. And we are only weighing the green bags. Do not include the weight of a bucket. Do not include the weight of a boom or a spill pad. Only the weight of the green bag. So we're physically taking the lid off, undoing the lid of our drums, grabbing that green bag out and setting it on our scale. We want it to match what the DMN in the file folder says. If it does not, then we need to mark that one as not okay. And then we're going to have to create a corrective action for it, which would include going in and editing the DMN with the correct weight. Then once you're done with that, initial in the bottom corner of that file folder, just take and just scribble your initials and the date down there so that then next month when you're going through, you can say, oh, I already did this one. I'm going to pick a different one. All right, so section D is going to be talking about our storage area. The first question, is there a 36-inch aisle space maintained in both your active and your full container area? For a lot of us as very small quantity generators, those are the same areas, but sometimes they're not. This example is a very large facility. They have their confirmed stored separately than their active, stored separately than their unconfirmed. The unconfirmed are in the building. The pending or active drums that they're still putting damages in are in one Connex box. The filled ones and completed are in another Connex box. So all of those spaces, we need to maintain a minimum of 36 inches in between damages. And then it also wants you to make sure that the diamond hazard labels are facing out so that you can identify what the contents are without having to move that drum. D2, verifying that no hazardous waste, only the drums or buckets that have your red and orange or red and yellow hazardous waste tag have not exceeded storage limits. So if you look on those hazardous tags, right there on that little piece that we cut out with our scissors, it will say accumulation start date. And it'll have the date that you opened that bucket opened that drum or started that bucket, whatever the situation is. So you're looking for accumulation start date on the red and yellow hazardous waste sticker. Everybody's storage limits are different depending upon your generator size. Your, your environmental coordinator can fill you in on what your specific site's timeline is when they need to be picked up. And then D3 are full or closed active drums stored in the designated storage area. So if you've got a designated Connex box where your full drums are supposed to be, don't leave them sitting around in your building. Once they're full, once you've signed off on that full container report, they need to be removed from the pending area or from your area where they're still active to the area where all of your closed drums or buckets are. So we don't want just random buckets, drums floating around wherever in our building. That's how we lose damages. Everything needs to have a designated storage space. This is where we're storing confirmed and closed buckets and drums. And then section D. Section D, or D4. D4 is kind of a lot. It's a little time consuming, but once you do it a couple of times, you should be able to get through it pretty quickly. So we're going to select a minimum of 25% or up to 6 total containers to audit. These are active open drums or closed buckets. So this is going to be going to your file drawer and grabbing the files. So find 6 drums or find 6 buckets. Pull the files out, and then we're going to audit our files first. We're going to look and make sure that our file, if we're a drum site, we need to have a minimum of 2 pieces of paper. You should have the original DMN and you should have your confirmation page. If you're a bucket site, your file folder should have a minimum of 4 pieces of paper in it. You should have your original DMN, your confirmation page, your container label report, and your full container report. So drum site, minimum of 2, bucket site, minimum of 4. You need to make sure that your folder has both temporary and permanent IDs on the outside of it. Then you need to make sure, is the correct damage in the correct container? So that would be looking at your confirmation page and looking at your container, looking at your bucket, looking at your barrel, and making sure, yes, this damage got put into this bucket or barrel, and that is correct. Then we want to make sure that the bag and tag pouch has been removed from the damage. If you are a drum site, remove it from the gooseneck. If you're a bucket site, excuse me, if you're a bucket site, you're just going to cut it off of the handle. As soon as you've got that bucket and or barrel stickered and that damage is inside of it, you don't need the bag and tag anymore. So that DMN can come out and just go into your file folder, and the bag and tag can go back into your file drawer to be used again for the next damage. We want to make sure that our container label is accurate. So we need to be putting the entire number, I know it's long, put the whole thing on your container label. Then we want to make sure that the bottom of the container has a DMP boom or a spill pad in it. That's the big coil for the drum sites, or I like to call them bucket diapers that come on the rolls. You tear it off and unfold it and put it into the bottom of your bucket. Every single container needs to have some kind of absorbent pad or boom into the bottom of it. And then the last thing you're going to do once you've checked that all of that stuff is good to go, you're going to initial the bottom corner on it to verify that, hey, I've already audited this one. And then along the side here, you're going to put in the container number that you just audited. So if you audited drum number 00007, that's what you're going to write in here, that's the drum that you audited. And last question in section D is about satellite accumulation. If you accumulate aerosols, paint, large quantities of fluorescent bulbs, those are really the only things that we accumulate at UPS. If you do, you probably already know how to input it into our weigh system, how it should go. If you're not sure if you satellite accumulate, talk to your health and safety supervisor. They will let you know if you satellite accumulate. But like I said, most of our very small quantity generators, you're not going to be accumulating anything. And honestly, even some of our small quantity generators still are not accumulating. There's so many different regulations and rules based on your state. So just check with your health and safety soup or your environmental coordinator if you are not sure. Again, with the caps, if you say no on anything, you have to fill out a cap. So what went wrong? What was the deficiency? Why did you answer that question no? Then your root cause. Why? Why did it go wrong? Why is this not being completed? Honestly, 99% of the time, well, okay, maybe not 99, but a lot of the time, it's lack of training. It's just a lack of communication, a lack of training, and then your corrective action is going to be training. Training preloader, my favorite, Joe Schmo, good old Joe Schmo needs lots of training. So put that in there, what the corrective action is. And then your business manager is going to be the assigned to user. So you will put your business manager's name in there. And then if you completed this, so if you went and did the training, or if you went and fixed the file folders, or if you went and edited the DMN and put the correct weight in there, then you can put today's date in there that it's been completed. Hypotheticals. I wanted to go through last week's hypothetical because a lot of people had a lot of issue with it. We had a lot of incorrect answers, and I think it was a little confusing, so I wanted to run through it. I've got my decision tree right here. If I can find the right page. Yeah. So I will read through it quickly and get your decision tree out and go through it with me. So our scenario is a box with a class 9 label has dry ice crystals forming on the corners. The cardboard is becoming damp and too weak to hold the contents. There are no fumes that irritate the skin, visible fumes, vapors, or irritating odors. Answer the questions based on this scenario. So where does our decision tree lead us? Are we going to end up red, yellow, or green? So let's find out. Revised October 2023 leaking package decision tree for designated responder small package. Is the leaking package generating heat, smoke, fume, visible fumes, vapors, irritating the skin or eyes in any way, or leaking too large of a quantity to absorb or neutralize? No. Does the package have a diamond hazard label? It does. So I got a yes. I'm going to move on. Is the package bearing a diamond hazard label with one of these materials prohibited in the UPS small package system? Explosive 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4B, 1.4F, or 1.4G. Blasting agent 1.5, inhalation hazard 2 or inhalation hazard 6, poison gas 2, spontaneously combustible 4, poison 6 or toxic 6, radioactive 7, yellow 2 and 3, or fizzle 7. No, it's a number 9 miscellaneous. So next box, is the package bearing a diamond hazard label with one of these materials in the UPS small package system? Explosives 1.4C, 1.4D, 1.4E, 1.4S, or 1.6N. Dangerous when wet 4, infectious substance 6, radioactive 7, white 1. Does the package contain spilled mercury? Also, all no. Can you determine by any visible means, labels, shipping records, etc., that the package contains a household product such as paint, personal care products, or common household chemicals? No, all that the box tells us is that it has cooling/frozen fish inside of there. It doesn't tell us why it has a diamond hazard label. So, package and related spill must be handled by the UPS designated responder. Refer to the appropriate response sheet for hazards and PPE. Follow response action steps to clean up the spill. If SCBA is required but not available, do not attempt to clean up the spill. Follow the chain of command and notify your environmental coordinator. So that puts us in this yellow box. And then contamination sheet, or excuse me, response sheet that we're going to end up on is going to be page 6. We're going to be looking at our number 9 hazardous label. So class 9 in limited quantity consists of material which, although otherwise subject to regulations, presents a limited hazard during transportation due to its form, quantity, and packaging. Consumer commodities. Hazards, any or all of the following may apply. Contact may irritate or burn your skin or eyes. Fire may produce irritating or poisonous gas, may be poisonous if inhaled, swallowed, or absorbed through the skin. Heat, sparks, and flames may ignite material. Vapors may travel to a source of ignition and flash back. The material may be toxic as well as flammable. So we're going to wear our goggles, boots, apron, silver shield liner, gloves, and SCBA if there is an irritating odor. Response action steps. Keep all sources of ignition away from the substance. Avoid creating friction or sparks. Avoid any activity which will cause the material to become airborne. Solids. No absorbent is required for solids. Clean up all spilled solid material and ensure all spilled residue is removed. Place the absorbed material into a lined spill tray using a plastic shovel, fiber broom, and/or plastic dustpan. Transport the package to the package service center for further processing. This is the important one. Dry ice shipments bearing the Class 9 label should not be processed through the DMP. Allow the dry ice to evaporate in a well-ventilated area. U.S. small package, continue to the waste disposal flow chart and decontamination checklist. So we have dry ice. So it's telling us that we are not going to process this through the DMP. We are going to remove the dry ice from the box. We're going to set it outside and it's going to evaporate. On days like today, it's not going to take 10 seconds to get rid of that dry ice. And then what are we left with? We're left with our fish. And fish is edible. I teach my kids sign language, edible. So we can eat fish. And what do we know about edibles? Edible fish is a non. So when we end up on the waste disposal flow chart, which I have out right here. So our waste disposal flow chart, we start spilled or leaking package contents. Yes. Spilled outside a vehicle when inside of the facility, except when inside the facility, or entered a drain or hazard reportable quantity. That's going to be all no. Does the spilled product fall into one of these categories? Contain nicotine or other acute hazardous waste, biohazard, pressurized cylinder, DEA controlled, or pharmaceutical? No. Are the contents verified as a non? Yes, we know that fish is edible, so fish is a non. So we are going to end up on the waste disposal flow chart in our blue, follow the non-regulated item disposal procedure box. So a lot of you picked no waste disposal flow chart necessary, but we still are disposing of the waste. We did not activate the chain of command, but so we still have to dispose of this frozen fish. So we would dispose of it as a non. So our answers are going to be yellow box on the decision tree. Response sheet is going to be miscellaneous hazard 9. And then on the waste disposal flow chart, we're going to end up in the blue box. So that's how you get to that solution for your hypothetical from last week. If you've got any questions, please reach out about that hypothetical or about other hypotheticals. We are happy to help you through it. All right. Yay, it's attendance time. Let me get my mug out of the way there. So make sure that you're scanning the QR code with your phone. This is a new QR code. So if you have a previously saved QR code, do not use that. You need to scan this new one or you can copy paste the link and put that into your computer and record your attendance that way. So make sure you're getting your attendance recorded. If you have questions, please. I'm on vacation this week, but I know my health and safety folks are more than happy to help you. Shoot me an email. I'm happy to help you when I get back. Whatever the situation is, we want you to be successful. We want you to be confident in the DMP, and we want you to get these audits completed in a timely manner and correctly. So as always, reach out. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm so glad you're here. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.